You check your bank app before you even get out of bed. Same balance as yesterday. Same balance as last month. You tell yourself it's fine. It's not fine. Because today, for the first time, you actually do the math. 14 years. That's how long you've had this job. 14 years of alarms, commutes, meetings that could have been emails, and a paycheck that lands, gets spent, and disappears before it even feels real. You used to think that was just how life worked. Show up, work hard, wait for the raise, repeat. But this morning, something is different. You open your budgeting app and stare at the number in red. Not because you overspent, because you finally see the pattern you've been living inside for over a decade. Nearly 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, even the ones earning six figures. You always assumed that was a problem for other people. Turns out you were one of them the whole time. You sit on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, coffee going cold, and you ask yourself the question you've been avoiding for years. What if the job was never the plan? Not the job itself, the idea that the job was supposed to save you. You thought a title would fix it, then a promotion, then another one. Each time the number went up, and each time, somehow, the stress came with it. Bigger apartment, bigger car payment, bigger reasons to need next month's paycheck exactly as much as this one. Your manager calls it getting comfortable. You used to call it stability. Now you're starting to wonder if it was just a slower kind of stuck. Here's the part nobody tells you at 22, standing in your first office with your first badge. A salary is not wealth. A salary is rent you pay to keep living the life you already have. It disappears the moment it lands. Wealth is different. Wealth is the stuff that keeps paying you long after you've stopped showing up. Rental income, dividends, a business that runs without you standing behind the counter. The paycheck was never going to get you there. It was only ever going to get you through the month. You think back to a conversation you almost ignored. 6 months ago, a coworker, the quiet one from finance, mentioned something offhand at lunch. Compound interest, she said, isn't complicated. It just means your money starts making its own money, and then that money starts making money too. She put $500 a month into an index fund. Nothing dramatic. No stock tips, no crypto, no big swings. Just $500 every single month into something that historically grows around 7 to 10% a year after inflation. You laughed it off at the time. $500 felt like nothing, a rounding error against your rent. But sitting here now, you pull out your phone and actually run the numbers. $500 a month invested consistently, growing at 8% a year for 25 years. The number that comes back doesn't look like a rounding error anymore. It looks like freedom. It looks like a version of your life where the paycheck is optional instead of required. Why did nobody teach you this? Not in school, not at the first job, not even at the second one, when you were finally making real money and still somehow living the exact same way, just with better furniture. You were taught how to earn. Nobody taught you how to keep, how to grow, how to make the money work instead of just you. You think about your parents, good people, hard workers, 40 years at the same company, a pension that barely covers the essentials now, and a quiet kind of tired that never really left their eyes. They did everything right by the old rules. The old rules just weren't built for this version of the world. The rich do something different. Not smarter, not luckier. Different. They treat their first paycheck as a starting line, not a finish line. They ask one question you've never seriously asked yourself. Does this dollar buy me a moment, or does it buy me a future? You look around your apartment, the subscriptions you forgot you had, the delivery orders from 3 nights this week alone. None of it evil. None of it even unreasonable. Just unexamined. Money leaving your hands on autopilot the same way it always has, because nobody ever asked you to stop and look. So you do something small, almost embarrassingly small. You open an account. Not a big one, not a dramatic one. You move $200 into it, the same amount you were about to spend on things you won't remember by Friday. It's not enough to change your life today. That's not the point. The point is that it's the first dollar you've ever sent toward a future instead of a Tuesday. $200. It feels like nothing. But so did the first step of every person who ever built something that outlasted their job. You think about that coworker again, the quiet one, still doing the same job you are, still cashing the same modest paycheck. Except, she isn't waiting on the job anymore. The job is just the fuel. The plan was never the paycheck. The plan was what the paycheck could build. If you finally stopped spending it and started pointing it somewhere. You close the budgeting app, open the investment one instead. Your hands are a little unsteady, which is strange considering how small the amount actually is. But it doesn't feel small. It feels like the first real decision you've made about money in 14 years. Outside, the city is waking up the same way it does every day. Traffic, coffee lines, 1,000 people rushing toward the same kind of morning you almost had. You check your bank app one more time before you leave for work. Same balance as yesterday. But for the first time in a very long time, it doesn't feel the same at all.